Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to another episode of Wellness Coaching Wednesdays here on Evoke Strong. My name's Elaine Dusetzina. I'm a Well Coach certified health and wellness coach, and I'm grateful to bring you some strategies to help you live a healthy lifestyle. Today I'm going to focus on positivity and talk about a book I read by Shawn Achor. He is the author of The Happiness Advantage. Let me bring up that screen here. The Happiness Advantage. Oh, this is a little dark. Here you go. And it talks about the 7 principles of positive psychology that fuel success and performance at work. I know it says work, but many of us does spend a lot of time at work, so it's applicable in that sense. But any of this positive psychology principles can be applied to our life as well as our health and well-being. So before I get started on the one principle that is relatable to what's going on in the world right now, all of them are relatable, but there's one that resonated with me. I want to invite you to take a nice deep breath in and a slow breath out. Always feels good when you take a breath and pay attention to your breath. I've been doing that a lot lately, just focusing and on on the present moment and slowing down a little. All right, so let's get back to positivity, positive psychology, and that one principle that I feel it resonated with me the most, particularly right now while we're in the midst of the pandemic crisis. So it's I'm gonna open up my book here. It's principle number 4, which is called falling up. So basically, I'm going to just quickly read off of the book here. Falling up is when, in the midst of defeat, stress, and crisis, our brains map different paths to help us cope. And so this principle is about finding the mental path that not only leads us up out of failure or suffering, but teaches us to be happier and more successful because of it. So there are three different paths that Shawn talked about in the book. And the first one is once a crisis happens, oh, it's the person pretty much stays the same, where you end up where you started. So then the negative event doesn't create a change. It's just you being you, staying the same person as you were before. The second path is the one that talks about being far worse off after experiencing a crisis, and a lot of us may be in that position right now because of whether it's financial or physical, emotional. What we're experiencing right now is something that we've never expected. It's out of our control. And so some of us may be feeling helpless or stuck. And there's definitely suffering that a lot of us are going through right now. But as you know, suffering is part of life. It's natural for us to experience it. And one of the things that I learned from one of the webinars that Coach Meg, she's the founder of Well Coaches, talked about. She talked about suffering and mentioned Viktor Frankl, who is the author of The Man's Search for Meaning. So I'm going to bring up that slide real quick here. And it's this one about Okay, that's not the slide that I wanted to bring up, so let me just wait here 1 second. Okay, so it's about finding meaning when we are suffering, because suffering without meaning leads us to despair. So the if we don't find meaning in what's going on right now, then we just feel hopeless and helpless, and this isn't really the path that we want to be in. So Shawn Achor introduced the third path, which is the path that we want to look for, and it's hard because so he says here that when we feel helpless and hopeless, we stop believing such a path even exists. And the third path, I didn't even mention what that is the path where we are able to rise above the challenge. So it says here that it leads us from failure or setback to a place where we are even stronger and more capable than before the fall. So it's hard to find this path because once we're in that mode of negative thinking, it leads us to negative emotions, therefore negative actions and negative consequences. So it's just a cascade of negativity. One of the strategies that was presented in the book is called the ABCD model of interpretation, finding your way from adversity to opportunity. And it's a good acronym to remember. A is for adversity, and that's the event that occurred out of our control. And for us, it's this pandemic, being at home, having to stay at home. B is belief, and this is how we react to the event, the situation that we're currently in. And that can be coming from a place of blame, complaining, anger, yes, sadness. My daughter said she was sad and surprised. Also acceptance. So you can come from a place of acceptance and understanding, then also from growth, thinking of growth and development coming out of the adversity that we're experiencing. C is for consequence, and I think I've already talked about how when we have negative thoughts, negative beliefs, that leads to negative consequences. When that happens, we need to take action with regards to questioning what our thoughts are, if they are even helpful, and this leads to disputation. So basically challenging our thoughts if they're even helpful thoughts, or if it only leads us to becoming helpless and hopeless and feeling stuck, because a lot of us may be experiencing that. So coming back again to finding that meaning while we're suffering. How can we look for the meaning behind the suffering we're experiencing right now? And it's hard, it is hard, but we can also rise above it, figure out a way, question ourselves what we can do to help ourselves and help others as well. Get through the situation that we're in right now. And I like that in the book, this talked about this term decatastrophizing. It's a big word, which is it's taking the time to show ourselves that while the adversity is real, it's perhaps not as catastrophic as we may have made it out to be. And oh my goodness, it is in a way, thinking about how the pandemic has affected so many people in the world, that it is catastrophe, and it could lead to that situation. But then again, as this book, um, this particular chapter talks about, that with regards to adversity, that it doesn't hit us as long or as hard as we think it might. So this quote about how our fear of consequences is always worse than the consequence themselves. Just thinking about that, letting that sink in, because I know in my situation and from my own experience that I've always, there's always that fear, and it's always worse than the the actual than the actual consequence when it happens. So I just wanted to share this piece of knowledge with you. It's Principle 4 from Shawn Achor's book, The Happiness Advantage. And so let me end with this last sentences in this chapter, that success is about more than simple resilience. It's about using that downward momentum to propel ourselves in the opposite direction. It's about capitalizing on setbacks and adversity to become even happier, even more motivated, and even more successful. It's not falling down, it's falling up. This became quite a long episode. I tried to keep it as short as possible, but I thought this was an important message to share with all of you. Please let me know if you have any questions and comments. Also, I would like to just talk about real quick about a challenge that's coming up that I'm hosting. It's doing another sugar reset challenge, and I will be doing another Facebook Live about that, just to explain why I even do it in the first place. And I would like to invite you to join a small group of women who wants to change their relationship with sugar and take control of their health. So thanks again for tuning in. Till next time, I am here on the first and third Wednesdays of each month. Take care, everyone. Be well and serve well. Bye.